The day began like any other, gray and ordinary, the kind of morning that slipped by unnoticed unless something went wrong. The city breathed in slow, tired rhythms, buses sighing at stops, shop shutters rattling open, people moving with their heads bowed, each carrying private worries like invisible bags. For Ayan, the weight felt heavier than usual. He stood at the edge of the bus stop, coat pulled tight, fingers numb, watching his breath fog the cold air. His phone buzzed with a reminder he didn't need, rent overdue. Again. He had done everything he was told to do. He had worked late nights, skipped meals, said no to rest. Yet somehow life kept narrowing, corridors closing in until every step forward felt like walking through a door that was already half shut. That morning, he had lost his job. Not dramatically, not with shouting or anger, just a brief meeting, apologetic smiles, and words like downsizing and nothing personal. The kind of ending that left no one to blame and nowhere to put the pain. The bus arrived crowded and impatient. Ayan squeezed in, gripping the overhead rail, swaying with the movement as the city slid past in streaks of dull color. He watched faces, some scrolling phones, some staring out windows, some closed off entirely. He wondered how many of them were fighting silent battles. He wondered if anyone would notice if he simply disappeared into the noise of the city and never came back out. At the next stop, a woman boarded with a child no older than 6. The boy clutched a worn backpack and looked around with wide, curious eyes. There was something careful about him, as though he had learned early not to take up too much space. The woman's shoes were thin, her coat patched at the elbows. She thanked the driver softly and guided the boy toward the back. The bus lurched forward. Ayan felt it before he saw it, the sudden shift, the sharp intake of breath from behind him. The woman stumbled, her grip slipping, and the boy cried out. Time slowed into fragments, the backpack falling, papers spilling like startled birds, the sound of a body hitting metal. The bus jerked to a stop. For a moment, no one moved. Then voices rose, overlapping and unsure. Is she okay? Driver, stop. Someone call for help. Ayan turned. The woman was on the floor, her face pale, one hand pressed to her side. The boy knelt beside her, eyes shining with fear, his small hands trembling as he tried to help her up. Ayan felt the familiar instinct to stay back, to let someone else step forward. He had learned that instinct well, life had taught him to conserve energy, to protect what little he had left. But something shifted inside him, quiet and firm. He knelt beside them. It's okay, he said, though he wasn't sure if it was. Take a breath. Don't move yet. The woman looked at him, surprise flickering across her face. I think I'm fine, she said, though her voice shook. Just dizzy. Ayan helped her sit up, carefully, while another passenger handed over a bottle of water. He spoke calmly, asking simple questions, grounding her in the moment. The boy watched him closely, as if memorizing the sound of a voice that didn't rush or judge. The driver called for medical assistance, but the woman shook her head. Please, she said. I can't afford. Ayan understood that sentence without needing it finished. He exchanged a glance with the driver, then with the other passengers. There was an unspoken agreement in the air, fragile but real. The driver nodded. Let's get you some air, he said. We'll pull over. They helped the woman off the bus. The cold hit them immediately, sharp and honest. Ayan gave her his scarf without thinking. She protested weakly, but he insisted, wrapping it gently around her shoulders. They waited. Minutes stretched. The city moved on around them, cars passing, people walking by, glancing and then looking away. Ayan felt time pressing, the awareness that he had nowhere urgent to be and yet everything felt urgent all at once. When the woman's color returned, when her breathing steadied, relief washed through him. She stood with Ayan's help, her gratitude spilling out in apologies and thanks tangled together. The boy smiled at him, a small, bright thing that warmed something long cold inside Ayan. "Thank you," the woman said again. "You didn't have to." "I know," Ayan replied, surprised by the truth of it. "But I wanted to." The bus had to continue its route. Another one would come. As they parted, the boy waved, clutching his backpack tighter now, as if it held something newly precious. Ayan stood alone on the sidewalk, scarfless, jobless, still unsure of what came next. Yet something felt different. The tightness in his chest had loosened, just a little. He hadn't fixed his life. He hadn't changed the world. But he had chosen to step forward when he could have stepped back, and that choice lingered, quiet and steady. He began walking, letting the city carry him. He passed a cafe where the smell of coffee drifted out, warm and inviting. On impulse, he went in. He counted his money carefully, ordering the cheapest item on the menu. As he waited, he noticed an elderly man struggling with the door, his hands shaking as he tried to manage a cane and a bag at the same time. Without thinking, Ayan moved to help. The man smiled, eyes crinkling. "Still some good left," he said softly. Ayan took his coffee to a small table by the window. He sipped slowly, watching people pass, wondering how many small moments like this went unnoticed every day, how many chances to choose compassion were missed because everyone was in a hurry to survive. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. He almost ignored it, then answered. It was a former colleague, calling about a temporary project, something short-term, uncertain, but paid. Ayan closed his eyes briefly, letting relief and disbelief wash over him. He agreed, thanked them, hung up. He laughed then, a quiet sound, not from joy exactly but from the strange balance of things. How the world could take and give in the same breath. How a day that began with loss could hold something like hope by its end. As he left the cafe, he noticed a woman counting coins outside, her shoulders hunched against the cold. People passed her without looking. Ayan paused. He had very little. But he also remembered the scarf around the other woman's shoulders, the boy's smile, the man's words at the door. He knelt, met the woman's eyes, offered what he could, not just money, but attention, dignity. She thanked him, surprised, the way people are when they expect nothing and receive something real instead. The day moved on. The city remained loud and complicated and unfair. But compassion, Ayan realized, didn't need perfect conditions. It didn't wait for abundance. It arrived in moments of choice, small and unremarkable, and asked only that someone say yes. That night, as he lay in his small room, the cold seeping in through thin walls, Ayan replayed the day in his mind. Not the job loss, not the fear, but the moments where he had stepped into someone else's need and found himself changed by it. He understood then that compassion was not a grand gesture reserved for the strong. It was an act of courage available to anyone willing to see another person fully, even for a moment. Somewhere across the city, a boy would remember a stranger who knelt beside his mother and spoke gently when the world felt unsteady. Somewhere, an old man would recall a door held open. Somewhere, a woman would count her coins and remember being seen. And Ayan, drifting toward sleep, understood that while he could not control what tomorrow would bring, he could choose, again and again, how he met it. On that ordinary, extraordinary day, someone had chosen compassion. And that choice, quiet as it was, had changed more than it seemed.